Hey, how's it going? I'm Mia. I'm a mystic, and I've been in the spiritual line of work for a little more than 7 years now. And the one question that kept coming up from my clients, my viewers, and a lot of folks that I came across, either on their spiritual journey or not, didn't really relate to spirituality in that way. Spiritual journey is just kind of a journey of self mastery, right? Whatever you want to call it, is finding like minded people. There's so many people who are just feeling so incredibly lonely, and they'll come across someone who they think is also spiritual or also like minded. Keep in mind, this doesn't have to relate specifically just to people in spirituality. It's a kind of a life thing, like finding people like you. I'm just going to refer to spiritual folks because that's the community I've been working with the longest. How do I find more spiritual friends? How do I find people who resonate with me, who I can talk to, who I can be myself with? It can be people who have been incredibly lonely because they can't find the right people, and some people who have been around a lot of people but still feel lonely because they're not the right people, or have outgrown them. So I made kind of like a list. It's still kind of in the works. This is what the purpose of this channel is. It's to kind of brainstorm with people, like how can we solve some of the problems that we're facing now today. Like, with real people. I've heard some down to earth stories from all walks of life, and I don't care if this doesn't get any views. This is for me expressing my authentic voice and anyone who resonates. All right, so soul family. How do you find your soul family? Are you looking for your soul family? Have you been looking for your soul family for a long time? A lot of us have. A lot of us found some along the way. But I realize that what people call soul family might be different. What people might be looking for in terms of soul family is different to each person. So I decided to kind of break it down into levels or groups. I don't know. I can label this later, but I'm just kind of seeing like what people are looking for when they're looking for their soul family. And so I started with like level 1, which is you haven't found anyone yet that resonates with you on a basic level. And this is kind of like you don't have anyone in your life that you can just relate to on the basic level. Like you can't just be yourself. And in the spiritual line of work, it's like kind of like, when you talk about doing inner work, or the energy is so strong today, or, this cycle is coming up for me to address again, things like that. When you have like basic spiritual talk, you don't have anyone in your life that you can talk to in that way that can understand any of that. Just like even slightly sensitive, energetically sensitive people around you. Maybe here and there with your family and friends, but not in that way. Like where you're doing this on the daily and you're not around anyone who kind of does it on the daily or somewhat consistently. So I feel like it's level 1. It's kind of like, I feel like red alarm lights going off, like in need, kind of desperation of anyone that you can connect to on a basic level and just talk about major things that are going on in the spiritual community or the spiritual energies, and you can't find that. All right, and so the level 2 is someone you want to work with, that you can collaborate with on different passion projects, hobbies, interests, basically connecting with someone on creativity. So working with someone on music, on art, in spiritual work, anything like that that would be kind of level 2, where you kind of want to kind of spiritually play with someone, be like creative and be able to kind of brainstorm, have a back and forth where you can exchange ideas and kind of build on each other's ideas and kind of, resonate on that level. And then I got level 3, which is community, resonating with people so much so that you want to live in the same area because you have similar morals, beliefs, and or lifestyles. And so this is for the folks who have been kind of living with people not like themselves for way too long, to the point where that contrast doesn't help you any longer. We all kind of go through periods of time where we want to experience contrast in order to kind of learn and grow. But there comes a point where you need to touch grass, you need to touch base with your people, with people who are like-minded, who can understand where you're coming from. So that's level 3. And then there's level 4, which is more like extremist side of things, where you have like a specific focus, like a soul mission that is so big and potent and important, that you're going to be spending a lot of your time focusing on and just working on 24/7. It's like what keeps you going. It's what's on your mind all the time. People who have that drive and just kind of want to work towards this one goal that they find is absolutely the most important thing that they need to do in this lifetime. All right, so this is the kind of place I was like some kind of input in. Because I was thinking for one level, I'm calling it level 5. I think I'm going to reorder them later, but I'm just going to get the ideas down first. But level 5 being like with your soul family, with your soul group, like recognizing this is your soul group and that you've had many lifetimes that you've shared together, and you come together once in a while, whether online or in person, but once in a great while, maybe like once a year or a few or twice a year, 3 times a year, seldomly, but keep in touch because this is your soul group and they are the catalyst to kind of thrust you into a new cycle or something new, or to kind of touch home base for a second, to work something out, to figure something out. It's a really good reset kind of energy, and just kind of knowing that they're out there and recognizing them, but no need to have them in your life every day kind of thing. Knowing that you're part of the same soul group and your purpose is to kind of have different experiences. So only needing to come together once in a great while. I feel like that's one of the groups. And then we have level 6. I think this is why I was waiting down to write level 5, because I kind of wanted these two to be swapped. But level 6 is kind of that you just want the spiritual group of friends as your additional group of friends. I'm imagining someone who has different groups of friends for different things. And sometimes they cross over, but sometimes they don't. But wanting just another group of friends that they can connect to on this aspect of their life. So I'm getting that for level 6. I think I would switch levels 5 and 6 for sure. Okay, and then level 7. I feel like this is the kind of group where you're coming together very strongly with your soul family to do high level spiritual work, manifestation work, or some deep healing, or setting intention, visualization kind of work for the collective, or something bigger. But yeah, doing that high level spiritual work. So that's what I have for the different levels. I feel like that is what people are looking for, specifically spiritual folks looking for their soul family. A lot of this has like a layer of soul mission or life purpose kind of embedded in it. Kind of expressing yourself with creativity and authenticity, definitely kind of layered in here. But just to review, okay, so level 1 is just having anyone that resonates with you at a basic level. And I've definitely had some spiritual friends that I made in the beginning of my journey where I made friends with them because they were spiritual, and it's like, oh, just anyone who would talk to me, and then realize that we have very different beliefs even in the spiritual subset. So it kind of like we kind of faded away, but as sometimes like just having someone that you can relate to on that basic level is, you know, a lifesaver. Level 2, someone you can work with and collaborate with on different passion projects, hobbies, interests, and creativity. So this is definitely like the next step in the spiritual journey, is to be able to collaborate with the others, because that's the other side of intuition, is creativity. And to be able to not just be spiritual with other people, but be creative, it definitely brings out this kind of childlike aspect within yourself, this sense of play and enjoying your natural skills, gifts, and abilities and interests. And that's something that a lot of us haven't experienced since we were children, using your imagination and being in the 5D more consistently. And a lot of us are kind of coming into the 5D, especially those who have awakened before 2020. In my wave, in the 2010s or earlier, in the 90s, 80s, and before that, we're all kind of coming into 5D more, which is being able to consistently hold that mentality more consistently, more often than not. And so I always call it like we're going from being like a toddler to a teenager in the 5D, where we're kind of reverting back to what we knew how to be in 5D, how we knew how to be in 5D, which is as a kid, being imaginative and playing with others, and kind of stepping that up a notch and, you know, being creative in more sophisticated and mature ways. But like, that's a kind of a sign that you're kind of in 5D and you're ready to kind of do 5D things, right? And then level 3, community, living in the same area. So a lot of light workers were spread across the whole world, right? So we can, you know, bring light and love to all the areas that we're in, kind of seeding light, grounding light wherever we were born. And there comes a time where you are meant to come together and kind of now concentrate that energy and keep high vibe, because it's like really hard to kind of keep that frequency once you can hold it consistently, to be around energy that is not that high frequency. So you kind of are guided to kind of go somewhere where it's more rural, or we have more land, more space, where you're connecting to more sacred, high frequency land, usually somewhere like where there's nature. There are some places in the city, and some people can definitely hold that down, but light workers are kind of guided to go to these more peaceful, beautiful natural scenery, more high frequency land places. And then you kind of congregate a little bit more. Not like huge communities, but like enough. And then we have level 4, which is the more extreme folks who are going after their like very serious soul missions. And these are folks that have like know what they're about, like they have like a purpose and they've known it for a very long time, and they're not like shy about it. Like they can go after it, and they are go-getters, right? They're able to find people who can help them with shared visions and get things done. And we see a lot of these folks kind of being the spiritual warriors, leading our cause in a lot of these more high profile like places and roles, statuses, and positions. Sometimes it's in public facing situations and roles, and other times it's more private, but these are like the spiritual warriors. You know, they have the stomach and they were given the skills, talents, and abilities to kind of go after very specific missions. Much love and light to them for their bravery. Okay. And then level 5 is people who just want a spiritual group of friends, because that's like, they recognize that as a huge aspect of themselves, and they would like to have friends that can connect with them on that level. But they also have other interests and other friend groups that also mirror like different facets of their whole being. So like the spiritual group of friends just being an additional group of friends that they can, you know, talk to about things that they're interested in and is important to them as well. But these are the folks who are very kind of extroverted and have a lot of people that they're connecting with, and they network with a lot of people, and they're really important, you know, like, because a lot of us light workers, we have a bit of introverted aspects within us, and that comes with like the amount of introspection that we have to do. But there's a lot of extroverted light workers as well, and they have their roles, and a lot of it has to do with networking, finding people, connecting the right people and ideas. And it's like, you know, I feel like a lot of people can't relate to that, and I get that. Like, even me being on camera, it's like I'm an extroverted introvert. I'm like half. It's like I'm really comfortable with other introverts, and to the point where I'm like extroverted with introverted people. But when it comes to totally extroverted people, I'm like quiet and shy, and like kind of take the become like a wallflower. Else I absolutely need to. But so that goes to show that we come in all shapes and forms. And then level 6 is folks that understand that they have a soul group that they have reincarnated with many times, and that are their spirit guides and their family on the other side, and are in a place where they can understand that even if they want to be with their soul family 24/7, that they came here to have different experiences and kind of, you know, share notes on the other side. So it's kind of like, yeah, although I would love to kind of be with you 24/7, it's probably best that we kind of do our thing, live our lives, connect every once in a while when we need to or want to, and then have our varied experiences help us in huge ways on the other side. So kind of seeing the value in having varied experiences, and, you know, kind of not having to connect with your soul family too much, in order not to kind of, to be able to kind of live those experiences fully, if you know what I mean. All right, and then the last level, level 7, is soul families. You're looking for a soul family that that want to come together to do high level spiritual work. And these are the folks that you're not going to hear about too much. I mean, there's folks that will do that. They'll come together in groups and, you know, put out powerful things together. And I've seen some on YouTube when they do, like, you know, like a Zoom chat with like a bunch of people on, and they're all talking about some same topic and stuff. They'll come together in groups, and they'll like do tarot groups, or have like, you know, general like meetings where they just talk about current affairs, what's going on in people's lives, what some, you know, general themes going on right now. But you know, that's all great and fun and important, but I'm talking about those people that you don't hear about, that are behind the scenes, that don't want to be found, that are, you know, out in the middle of nowhere, and they're connecting with other high level, powerful light workers ready to do some real high level stuff, you know. And there's also, like, you don't get as much at that high in light without going that deep in your shadow. So, some spiritual people, they have the biggest egos that they had to overcome, and so when two very powerful light workers come together, it's like it's an explosion because it triggers that really like dark aspect of yourself, that really human ego part of yourself. But if you can get past that, the things you can do, this is when miracles start happening, right? So yeah, that's exciting to look forward to if you're wanting to reach that level in your spiritual journey. Not everyone wants to, like the example that came to mind, funny enough, was like LARPing or like Comic-Con or things like that, where people come together with similar interests and form bonds and folks that they can play with online and stuff like that. Different gaming communities or people who have different interests, the musicians who have similar interests. I'm getting like, for some reason, people who play chess, like it's like, maybe you find people that can play chess around you, but to take it to that level, that's kind of like, it's like a very like individual game. Like you play chess by yourself and you have an opponent. So to have a friend in that community is like kind of difficult because you're kind of, it's kind of a solo journey, right? But then you find comrades and people who like it as much as you, and then they're as much your competition as they are your friend. And there's a lot of dynamics like that. Like for example, in business, like oh yeah, someone who understands me because they have a very successful business like me, and they know what it's like to go through the same challenges, but also they're my competition because, we're in the same kind of field. So we're opposed to kind of more of like a friendly camaraderie type of groups when you're all for the same goal. For some reason hunting came to mind, but like you're all kind of trying to hunt or try to get the food, or whatever it is. Like there's different levels, right? There's like one-on-one competition where you're kind of out for yourself, and then there's kind of like where you form a group for the same objective, and that's like usually more friendly and more kind of group oriented. So it's like different people want different things out of their soul friends, out of their soul family and their friendships and their friend groups and their family that they create in this lifetime, because we all create family bonds with people who we're not biologically related to. Some of us lucky enough that we have those soul bonds with people that we were in the same bloodline with, but not all of us do. And at this point in time, I feel like at the age of the internet, like it's connected all of us, but it made us all feel kind of even more lonely and divided, because like showing us not only the things that we have in common, but the things that we don't have in common, and we tend to focus on those more because we're human. So it's kind of like one of those things, like you can get 100 positive comments, but that one negative one is the one that's gonna like eat you alive. I feel like it's the same with the tool of the internet, where it's like, yeah, you can find people who are like-minded, who like the same things as you, but you're gonna point and poke at the things that makes you different first and foremost, because that's just our tendency to do that. But yeah, those are the levels I thought of. Let me know if you think I should add any, or if I should edit any, or your opinions. Thank you so much. Love and light.